Welcome to Lifelong English Major. I'm happy to be here, and my name's Susan Rushton, and I always need to say why I want to do this. I am a lifelong English major, and for years on ACTV, I might have had somebody come along once a year and talk about books, and then finally I thought, oh, this is stupid. I value books and libraries and storytellers, and why not talk about them regularly? So that's what we're doing today. And before I do anything else, I want to share a book I bought. I have not gotten it. I had not read it. This is 1984 Julia by a woman named Sandra Newman. I found it at Winston Smith Books in Auburn, and Glenn Sewell saw that I had wanted it. I said that, oh no, I can't. I hated 1984, but and there's this Julia, and it was more about 1984, but then I thought, oh damn, I really need to. And so I have not opened it, but he said it's fabulous, it's necessary, you need to read it, it's perfect, it's terrible, but it's wonderful, read it. So this is 1984 Julia.
Tell us how you really feel.
It's not a happy book, but neither is 1984 a happy book. But it's vital. So I'm shaking. Okay, so my guest today is Frank Nissen. May I share your email? No.
You may.
Okay. F.J. Nissen, @iCloud.com. He is a Gold Country writer. And when I say Gold Country writer, yes, we are here in the Gold Country, and if you're writing, you're a Gold Country writer. But then there's this goldcountrywriters.com, organization of writers. There are lots of people who are Gold Country writers, and this is one of them. Frank, thank you very much for joining me.
You're very welcome. Yeah. Happy to be here.
Thank you. And what is Gold Country Writers?
It's a organization that helps people who are aspiring writers, who want to improve their craft, who want to talk to and get inspired by and get knowledge from other writers. We have quite a spread of people, men and women, young people and retired people like myself. We meet 4 times, business meeting is the first Monday, but the second Monday and the fourth Monday are what we call drop-in critiques, wherein you can, if you're a member, that's got to be out there in front, if you're a member, you can bring in 5 pages of what you've written, and you sit down at a table with a small group of other people, and you present your material, and then people comment on it. Right?
Okay.
And
only 5 pages, or
only 5 pages.
5 pages.
I know.
Wow.
It's but the thing is, I mean, if you've got it's only a 2-hour meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you've got, usually the tables are about 6 people each, right? If it takes a half an hour to the person to present their material and then for the other folks to comment on it, that's 5 people commenting on your stuff. Time goes by really fast. So that's why we do have, the organization does have extra groups. Like there are people who concentrate on memoirs, there are people who concentrate on science fiction.
Or mysteries and...
Yeah, and so those groups meet separately and they have a mechanism wherein they can present more material
Neat.
at a time
Okay.
and get the same kind of feedback.
Okay.
So it's a very, very what to say, candid group or
What?
energetic group.
Energetic. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them have been published. Some of them have not.
And this one has, and we'll talk about that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been in it for what, maybe 6 years, 7
Okay.
years, and it's been really great.
Good.
I had some. I mean, sometimes somebody sits down and reads something, and my jaw just drops because
It's horrible, or
No,
it's
it's
wonderful.
wonderful.
I'm sorry. I'm
there's-
sorry, you guys.
There's dropping the jaw for that part
Yeah,
too,
yeah, yeah.
but no, hopefully not too often.
Yes, yes. Okay, so it's goldcountrywriters.com.
They do have a website,
Yeah.
which people can go to and
Yeah.
get a better feel.
There's
for
a lot. There's a lot
What-
there.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have written. Let's see what you've written. This is
Fortune's Call. It's a gold rush story.
Gold Rush. Yes.
Not surprising since this is gold rush country, and
Yeah.
I grew up in this country, so it was natural to write a story about that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the first of proposed 3. Number 2 is already at the publisher, and hopefully be out in May of this year.
In May. May of
May
this
of this
year.
year. Yeah.
And
It's anyway.
but before you do that, before you say that, because you said in May, do you know when in May? Do you know?
Not yet.
And I imagine you're going to have a party.
Probably.
Probably you had a party last time.
I know.
Okay, so but you haven't figured it out yet.
Haven't
It's
figured
it's
it out.
this
Nothing
is
been done. We just got.
May is a while away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we just got the approved cover last week, so the momentum is picking up.
Okay.
But, certain things haven't been actually nailed down yet.
I understand. Yes. Okay. How long did it take you to get that finished?
I would say maybe 4 years.
Okay.
Because I didn't really have any serious plans. I was just enjoying the writing, which is why why one does it. I was just having a good time. There's a kind of a long story about how I arrived at this point. But anyway, I was just writing and writing and writing, and one of the women at the group, one day when we were having our critique, she said, "When are you going to publish that thing?"
Publish it? Me?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just, I mean,
What do you
I
mean?
didn't even, most of my career was in drawing, okay? And I was always working for...
Most of your what was in drawing? Most of your what was in drawing? Most of your something or other was in drawing.
That word was 20 seconds ago. I can't remember that word. Anyway.
Welcome.
Anyway,
So you were a
I was
drawer.
drawing. I was in animation, and I was always working for a company. So all I had to worry about was the drawing and the creating and getting the thing done. Other people worried about what had to happen to it after it walked out the door. Right? So I had the same attitude toward writing. I was just writing. I was having fun writing. The idea of actually publishing it and getting it out there in the world was like, you might as well walk to Siberia. I had no idea what it entailed. That's been a very interesting learning process.
Mm-hmm.
But Rebecca, the lady who challenged me,
I think you should
she said that she would be willing to, help me get acquainted with the process. She also was learning at the same time because she was a writer and she was hoping to get published someday too. So it was a mutual thing, right? so that's how it came to be.
Okay.
And I had to, and we got a publisher, and the ball got rolling, and there it is.
There it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Okay. And your next one, what's the name of your next one?
The next one is called Fortune's Price.
Okay.
In the first book, Fortune's Call, Peg is the boy who's the hero of the story. In the first book, he gets to California. He walks from Vermont to California.
No horse, no.
Well, they have a wagon, and they have,
But he's walking.
But he's walking because
the horses are doing something else. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and also walking is a lot easier on your backside than sitting on a wagon, which goes over a very bumpy road.
Or being on a horse.
Yeah.
But people, for a long time. Yeah.
This is one of the things that you learn when you do the research for this kind of thing, is that people were tougher then. It didn't seem unusual for them to walk 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something you did to get to market,
Uh-huh.
right? So anyway, in the first book, he leaves his home in Vermont, and eventually he gets to California, and he gets a little taste of California, the gold rush. He's in the gold rush. But the second book is where he's kind of on his own, and he has to navigate this rather lawless.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Okay.
Which in 1849 was almost grown.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's another perception,
sure.
right?
Sure.
The teenager was only invented in 1954 when rock and roll came along. Right? Before that, you were
okay.
You were an
Thank
apprentice.
Okay.
If you didn't sort of stay on the family farm, if you actually wanted to go out and do something, like become a blacksmith or whatever, by the time you were 12 or 13 or 14, you were apprenticed to a blacksmith, and you learned the trade.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you did that at home, you were doing real work.
working there, and you did
yeah.
working there or working for yourself. Yeah, one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's 15, and he's on his own, and he has some interesting adventures, let me put it that way.
And he's not going to tell us because he wants us to read the book.
I want you to buy the book. The stakes that's why I say Fortune's Price, because the stakes get considerably higher in book 2.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
How long did it take you to write that one?
Well, the tricky secret, if you will, was that actually book 2 used to be the back end of book 1. But one of the things that we found out was that most publishers, with a new writer,
250 is enough.
yeah, they want a certain number of pages, and my story just was like this big sprawling, panorama, 600 pages or whatever it was, and Rebecca said, nobody's going to publish that, so we got to cut it in half.
Okay.
So, I had a leg up, as it were, on book 2 because
a lot of it was done.
A lot of it was done. A lot of the thinking was done, and I just had to kind of massage it a little bit to, make a new opening so that you could, come at it from the end of book 1, and also I had to sort of fiddle with the end because I want people to wait around for number 3.
But buy the third one, yeah.
So,
do you have a title for the third?
I have a working title called "Trying to Get Back Home."
Okay.
And that he go. The thing that happens with a lot of stories is that the first story, especially if they're a series of stories, the first story is the essential drama, the essential dynamic, the essential parameters of what the character is going to have to go through. By the second or the third story, you've got to really try hard to keep it going, keep it interesting, keeping it lively, keeping it
And you have.
compelling. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean.
Something
I
always
I
needs
really
to happen.
I wanted it to keep it an adventure story. So I have a few. I mean, the thing that's really great about writing a story is that you may start out with an idea, but along the way, other ideas creep in, or pop up, depending on how you want to look at it. And the story goes off in another direction. And
wait a minute, come back. Yeah.
Well, no, if it's interesting,
Yeah.
and it's in the spirit of
But
what's
it's
come
not
before.
what you had it isn't what you had in mind, right? But that's what happened.
Yeah.
And some.
I don't know. And one of the great things about writing, at least for me, is that often I don't know what's going to be at the end of the sentence until I get there.
Yeah.
I write. I mean, I have an idea of what I want to do, and I have an idea what the character probably should say, but exactly what the character says often doesn't happen until I write. It's there it's waiting for me when I get there, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful. It's kind of like drawing in a way. Sometimes you start out. You have to draw a villain, or you have to draw a castle, or you have to draw whatever.
It's going to be that, but you don't know exactly what it's going to look like.
I drew the tower. Oh, let's see what it looks like a little bit taller.
Yeah.
It's all a process of just trying and discovering, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I know there are two kinds of writers. One is, I'm going to start and see what happens. And there are
people who have that all nailed down.
Yes, and the others have. Here, I'm going to write this. This is what I want this in this first, and in this second, and this in the third.
All nailed down.
Yeah, all nailed down. And if something happens that I'm not expecting, no, I can't do that. I wrote a book once that I can't tell you much about, but this boy and this girl were angry with each other, and they said these horrible things to each other. How can you stay there and stay with each other and talk that way? Wait a minute, stop it. But
it wouldn't.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't. And they stayed together, and which appalled me. But there they were, and they were mine. But at the same time, they were theirs.
That's right.
Even
though one part of you was objecting,
yes.
The other part is saying, "Well, this is what they.
This is what they're doing," and this is.
Yeah.
And, wait a minute! I'm coming. that's how I felt.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to. That's what we call a happy accident.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to follow those. If you. Talking about creativity is really tricky, right? But
talking about creativity and being creative is also tricky.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But that's part of it. Is accepting the things that come along that surprise you, or that you're not expecting, or that you didn't anticipate. It's part of the fun.
Yeah.
It's part of the fun. It's part of the adventure. I mean, I've several times I've talked to people about art, or talked to people about doing art, or interviewing young people applying for a job in art, and whenever I start talking about having a good time, some of them look at me like, "What do you mean a good time?"
About writing?
Writing and art.
And it's not fun, really?
Well, it's fun for me, but it's not fun for a lot of people. It's hard work for a lot of people.
But they're doing it. So that
I don't know. I don't
aren't they
know
getting
them.
better if they're doing it?
I don't know them long enough to find out because I'm saying, we're on different wavelengths. You do what you have to do.
If you don't like it, if you aren't comfortable doing it,
That's again
of course,
why you. The last
here we are.
the last people who talk about art should be artists. Artists they're too invested, or they're too full of baloney.
Nobody I know.
Anyway,
and you aren't full of baloney.
Oh, I'm as full of baloney as everybody else. But let's not get off the important stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is, you have to care about it in order to craft it to a level that's going to speak to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you talk about having fun or being sensitive, you have to fall in love with each word, and you have to love words per se. You have to love putting them together in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Right? I read many years ago, 1963 to be exact.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, I was on a troop ship going to Europe.
1963?
1963. No wars. There was no wars going on. I was just going to be in the army.
You're older than I am. My goodness.
I guess I am.
My goodness.
Anyway, so there we were with nothing to do for the better part of 2 weeks, going across the ocean in January. And I got a hold of this book, speaking of books, called The Death in the Family by James Agee. And
yeah, I remember that.
I remember one phrase from that book that has carried me and inspired me ever since. And it's his description. I think the story is told from a point of view of a boy. And he's going to, I believe he's either going to a funeral or he's going to church, one or the other. People are gathering. And he's watching all this, right? And at one point, he says, sunlight twittered through the spokes of the wagon wheel.
Yeah.
That's just, it's poetry, it's gold, it's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's just like.
And you see it.
Yes. You not only see it, but you see a very specific view of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what writing is all about.
It's kind, isn't it? He wants us to see that.
Yes. But he uses a very unusual word to help us see that.
Twitter.
Yeah. The sunlight twittered through the spokes of the wagon wheel. And you can absolutely just picture it. It's instantly gettable.
Yeah.
When I was at Disney, and we would show our work to the executives, the key phrase, which would be either make you or break you, was it's gettable.
It's what?
Gettable.
Gettable.
As in I get it.
Uh-huh.
Right. It's gettable, or I don't get it.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you've got like a storyboard. Do you know what a storyboard?
Sure.
Okay. So you've got a year and a half's worth of work in this movie, and you got a storyboard up there on the screen, and you've just played it out. And the executive stands up when the movie's over, and he says, "I don't get it."
Damn. Pardon me.
After,
That's
after
what
a
you-
year and a half.
Yeah.
A year and a half of work and brainstorming with other artists and trying to work out different problems within the plot line and all that kind of stuff. But it was, there's no need for fancy verbiage or psychological mumbo jumbo. It's like, I don't get it. And if I don't get it, there's no argument. If you're setting out to do a comedy,
it has to be funny.
it has to be funny.
Yeah.
Or a mystery or an adventure or whatever. If you have crafted your elements well, then it works.
Yeah.
But if you haven't,
Because
It's
you're
not
not
better.
writing for yourself. You're not
No.
doing this for yourself. You're doing this for
No.
others.
well,
You are.
yes and no. Well, no. You have to do it for yourself.
Okay.
You
You
know.
are doing. You're
You know,
doing this
it's
because you love
It's
it.
a two-way thing. I mean, you're doing it for yourself, but you also want any artist, anybody, any creative person who says, I don't need an audience, I don't care if anybody sees my stuff, I'm just going to do my stuff, right? That's baloney. That's absolute, self-delusion, because the only reason to do something creative is to share it.
Sometimes, maybe they don't want to share it, but I'm agreeing. I do agree with you. If I write something, I want it to be good enough to show other people. I want other people to understand it, to laugh, to get angry if I want them to get angry, to chuckle, to see sunlight twittered through the spokes of the wagon wheel. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I don't know. I profoundly believe that doing creative stuff takes so much energy and so much thought. Unless you're splashing around and, doing stuff that just is sort of primordially visceral or whatever.
You're also doing it for other people.
Yeah. I mean,
Welcome.
the fact that
You're welcome. Yes.
the fact that you're crafting, the fact that you're, sitting there and worrying about, should I use this word or this word, right, is inherently a desire to have somebody respond.
Yeah.
Which means showing it to somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk about
Well,
Mariana's Trench.
we can't.
Oh,
We
okay.
can't. I wish we could, but we're coming to the end.
Okay. What haven't we talked about?
Oh, well, we haven't talked about a lot of things. But I'm glad that you're about ready to publish your second book.
Thank you.
And I'm tickled that you came here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is Frank Nissen. Nissen.
Yes, Nissen.
And if you're interested in Gold Country Writers, goldcountrywriters.com.
Yeah.
And books.
Yeah.
Yes. Lifelong English major, thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome.
And
Very
thank
well.
you for watching. I'll see you later.